Oh my God, Charlottesville. White supremacy is alive and well. Run. Stop. If you are a black person and you express some irrational fears this week over the rise of the Klansmen and neo-Nazis, let me invite you over for a cup of hot steaming facts. Fact number 1. Approximately 93% of black homicide victims are killed by other black people. In 2014, 6,095 black people were killed, and virtually all of them were killed by other black people. Black Lives Matter protesters may want to consider extending their slogan to "Don't shoot," because we've already got it covered. And you're not special, white people. Seriously, in 2012, 84% of white homicides were committed by other white people. Go figure. It's like we're all racist towards our own selves. Nobody wants us dead more than we want ourselves dead. I mean, there are, 6,000 Klansmen left in our nation? You want me to actually process that as a legitimate fear every day when I wake up? It's Donald Trump's fault that they're feeling energized. It's Obama's fault that Black Lives Matter is violent. Both of you children, to your room. It's obviously the media's fault. I mean, the media is creating this entire narrative, and it is crazy, absolutely crazy to me that people have not figured this out yet. I mean, why do you think we didn't hear a single thing about David Duke, white supremacy, and the KKK the entire time Obama was in office? Do you think that they were all hiding underground, waiting for the next white president, meeting by the light of the moon? Do you really actually believe that they weren't still meeting, holding protests, having rallies and marches? Maybe the media wasn't covering it. Use your brain. I mean, maybe I live in a bubble where black people and white people actually get along every day. When I went to the gym this morning, a white girl signed me in and handed me a towel. No beef. I was trying to figure out how to use this weight machine, and a black trainer came over and helped me. No drama. I even went to the coffee shop thereafter, and a Spanish girl made my latte with an extra shot. All good in the hood. And it was a great day. So you'll have to forgive me for not realizing that the figurative racial sky was burning and it was up to me to choose a side. Because if I had known, I obviously would have picked none of you losers. I think the president was absolutely right to call it for what it is, which is two groups of extremists. Nobody showed up looking to give hugs. The media is going to keep encouraging us to act like absolute animals, to make sure we get arrested and end up in that system.
Give me the most blatant racist example you can come up with right now.
I think you could probably find evidence that, in general, cops are more willing to shoot if the perpetrator is black than white.
What's your basis for saying that? Last year...
Well, look, I know a lot of people would say, look what's going on in Chicago.
I know what they would say.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what the facts are. 965 people were shot by cops last year and killed. 4% of them were white cops shooting unarmed blacks. In Chicago in 2011, 21 people were shot and killed by cops. In 2015, there were 7. In Chicago, which is a third black, a third white, and a third Hispanic, 70% of the homicides are black on black. About 40 per month, almost 500 per year last year in Chicago, and 75% of them are unsolved. Where is the Black Lives Matter on that? The idea that a racist white cop shooting unarmed black people is a peril to black people is BS. It's complete and total BS. And the reason for these so-called activists saying this is the assumption that racism remains a major problem in America. The media, CNN, especially MSNBC, runs down whenever a black cop shoots somebody, and it's some march on Washington. It's ridiculous. Black people, half the homicides in this country are committed by and against black people. Last year there were 14,000 homicides. Not talking about suicides. I'm talking about homicides. Half of them were black. 96% of them black on black of that 7,000. Where's the Black Lives Matter people on that?
So there's where you would say that this is purely because of social justice. This is purely because they want ultimately for people to be angry enough to just keep voting Democrat.
That's right. And where's the evidence of the lack of social justice? When a black suspect is killed by a cop, believe me, the media is on it. People are watching it, and justice will, for the most part, occur. In Baltimore, where Freddie Gray was killed, Freddie Gray died in a van. I shouldn't say was killed. Died in a van. Yeah. You have a city that's 45% black. City council is 100% Democrat. The majority of city council is black. The top cop at the time was black. The number 2 cop was black. The majority of the command staff is black. The mayor is black. The AG is black. And yet here we are talking about racism. I mean, it's absurd. The fact, I'll tell you something else too. There was just a study, University of Washington. And it turns out cops were more reluctant, more hesitant to pull the trigger against a black suspect than a white suspect, probably because of the fear of being accused of racially profiling and the fear that the civil rights establishment was going to come down on him. So if anything, whites are more likely to be shot by a cop under certain circumstances than a black person. And in the last 30 or 40 years, the percentage of suspects killed by cops who are black has declined 75%. However, the percentage of whites killed by cops has flatlined.
Yeah.
And so if anything, people are more concerned about shooting black people for fear that they're going to be called racist. And almost every one of these incidents, whether it's Eric Gardner in New York, who died because he was selling Lucy's and resisted arrest, whether it's Tamir Rice in Cleveland, who was twirling around the gun, whether it's Michael Brown in Ferguson, who had just committed a strong-arm robbery, almost every one of these incidents involved somebody resisting arrest. Why don't you just do what the police tell you? My dad said when I get pulled over, have my hand at 10 o'clock, have my hand at 2 o'clock, say yes, sir, say no, sir, make sure my paperwork is in order, and if I feel the cop is mistreating me, get a badge number and deal with it later on. If Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and Obama and the whole group of them told black people to do that, we'd have a lot fewer of these things to deal with in the first place.
The lies started with the hands up, don't shoot, and Michael Brown, when that witness lied to the press. And the press took that lie and made it into a scenario they wanted to have. Cops shot black man in the back. Unarmed teenagers murdered by a police officer. And the Black Lives Matter people found a lot of money in doing that. They became famous. They became powerful. They became influential. So they began to express themselves in demonstration and cutting up freeways and delaying traffic and going from city to city. They found money. People paid their way. A lot of money in protesting. We knew in St. Louis, the hotels were full of people traveling in great clothes and changing to their thug outfits to go out and demonstrate and protest. Black lives was a lie. The Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot lie. Even his own autopsy showed he was not an innocent bystander. He was not shot in the back. Even the family, who hired one of the best pathologists in the world, determined he was not shot in the back. It does not matter. Black lives still believe there was something happening. Don't hit a grown man who's carrying a gun, cop or no cop. Now, the problem exists now, folks, because they're getting paid money. Black lives are now influential. They're now powerful. They have influence now, and they're gaining money from outside sources to create havoc. Who do you think are making you believe in white superiority? You think that every problem you have requires white folks to do something, like a child and their daddy. If every problem you have requires white folks to do something, you think that you are inferior to them. I fought in the civil rights movement in the 60s. I demonstrated, I protested for civil rights, the right to compete against everyone in America. I now compete, I now raise my grandkids to compete. I am free and I act like I'm free. Me and white men will stand together shoulder to shoulder to protest and demonstrate you and push you back. You're not going to win this. We're not going to have you bring down our nation because you want to enrich yourselves. You want to protest? Protest those black politicians in your community that have been in charge for decades and turn out nothing but more poverty for you. You want to protest? Protest the ability to get up and go to work and learn how to make money. If you want to protest, protest your radio station today that broadcasts this rap music degrading women, degrading family, and glorifying drinking and drugs. You want to protest something? Protest your inability to see the opportunities you have in America. Black lives do matter.